I'm Paul Van Schoyck of Taekwondo Guide, and this is Topic Tuesday, where I bring my over 20 years of experience in Taekwondo to you guys and answer your questions. It's the only show out there I know of where people talk about Taekwondo. Now, since it's a talking show, it's audio, right? You can get some chores done. Pop those headphones in and wash your slaves. Polish your grandfather clocks. Get some chores done while you listen. Our first topic comes from Aaron Tart. Aaron writes, how can I get more adult students to join Taekwondo with me? Currently, the only adult in my class is me, and I would like to have more adults in class with me. 3 Taekwondo schools in my area all have exactly one adult in the 14 and over class, and they're all parents of kids in Taekwondo. Oh, this hits near and dear to me. If you don't know, I am a Taekwondo school owner. I'll tell you what, when I first started my Taekwondo school, I wanted to gear the training towards adults. Sure, I had my kids programs, but I actually started out of the gate with multiple adult classes and maybe 1 or 2 kids classes. I really wanted to appeal to the adult crowd. After all, there's so much more you can do with adults when it comes to teaching the material around Taekwondo. I tried this for years and I failed miserably. For whatever reason, the white uniform martial arts are no longer associated with popular adult activities, with the exception of jiu-jitsu. And you know, they wear blue uniforms a lot, so it doesn't count. I kid. No, but if you're an adult, the proper martial art to do is either one of the popular combat sports like Muay Thai, or you're supposed to do something that's strictly self-defense like Krav Maga. There's little place in the world for the traditional arts, and if people choose a traditional art in the adult world, they tend to go for stuff that's less athletic, less kick-based. So, I've trained in a style called Uechi-ryu karate, and so it's got a lot more hand techniques, and most of the kicks are below the waist. That appeals to more adults because, let's face it, it's a lot harder for adults to develop the flexibility and dexterity necessary for kicking. So Taekwondo just tends to be a hard sell to adults. But I've found 3 things that really help get adults to train in Taekwondo. I probably have at least 20 or 30 people in my adult class, something around that. I don't have an exact number, but quite a few. All right, so what are they? Well, you mentioned one of them right here. So the first one is, if you're a school owner and people have their kids training, you should be marketing to the parents because they're watching your program regularly. And regardless of style, when someone gets to know you and gets comfortable with you and feels at home in your school, they're going to be more inclined to train with you rather than someone they don't know, even if it's the culturally more cool martial art to practice. So send out some marketing material, if you're a school owner, to the parents of your existing kids. I once a year offer like a 3-4 month very low cost entry for parents, usually around the start of New Year's. Try to pick up a few that way. Or you can have a family class where the kids and adults can train together. And often, you'd be shocked, often what will happen is a kid might drop out and the adult will actually continue. In fact, one of my first instructors was someone who started with their son as a child. Their son was a child, and they continued on, and their son did not. And they're still practicing to this day, some 25 years later. So That's a huge way to get adults interested, is through their children who are already participating. Okay, what else can you do? Well, the other thing is to retain the kids long enough that they become adults. And that's such a cool thing to see. Obviously, normally they get to black belt at that point. And I've seen this happen a handful of times. I had a number of people, and many of them instruct for me now, who started as small children and are now young adults. And of course, that's the golden group, because they're as talented as they get. They grew up making these movements part of their system, and they're athletically really capable with all the material because they've done it from such an early age. So as a school owner, if you can work on your retention and keeping people for a very long time, you will eventually get adults out of your kids' class. That's not very helpful, of course, if you're not a school owner, but something to consider. Okay, what's the final thing to get adult students? For whatever reason, people in their 50s and up seem to be interested in things like traditional Taekwondo and Karate still. I think it's because they go back to the era where it was culturally quite relevant. Bruce Lee was at his height, and then they had like the Karate Kid and Chuck Norris, and all these people that were highly respected traditional martial artists. They grew up around these people. They have a place in their heart for traditional martial arts still. And a lot of them are at the point where they've just become empty nesters, or their kids are in high school. They have less parental responsibility. They're interested in fitness. And Taekwondo provides a great venue for developing those things as an older adult. Now, of course, these people need to approach the training with caution, take their development slowly as to not injure themselves. But it's, for whatever reason, a great age group to market to. So if you're a school owner and you want to try to attract adult students, I would not target 20 through 40-year-old people. You may get a few, but generally speaking, your ad dollars won't go very far unless they already have students enrolled in your academy that are their children. But if you want to target older adults, I think you'll get a lot more value out of your advertising. Now, what if you aren't the owner? What can you do? Really try to get your friends to come. Maybe you can talk to the owner about allowing them to train at a reduced cost, maybe at least initially, to help get those adult class numbers up. I can tell you, when I started, I offered a lot of free to low-cost memberships to my friends to help get the adult class churning. Very few people want to show up and be the only one on the floor. And a school owner should recognize that they need to get the ball rolling. Sometimes you have to make a really good offer to do that. Now, I've had people come in for free that end up becoming long-term paying members. So look at it as an investment in developing a class that doesn't have existing students yet. Those are all the tricks I've developed over the years. And as much as I've tried to get adults interested who are like the type who want to get in and train hard, scrap, you're fighting a culturally dominant image that's pretty much impossible to deal with unless you have millions of dollars to budget to throw out and change the cultural perception of Taekwondo. Because as I said, those who are interested in training like hardcore martial arts that are adults are either going to end up in a combat sport like Muay Thai or something like Krav Maga that's purported to be this great self-defense system. And I think it's a shame, because not all of them fit neatly into those two categories, particularly the Krav Maga crowd. I think a lot of them would actually be better off training in a traditional martial art like Taekwondo simply because the health benefits might be greater. Just my own personal opinion. I just don't think many people are getting into street fights. I don't think that Krav Maga has a serious leg up over Taekwondo when it comes to self-defense, unless you're training a very specific way. I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure there are schools that do it that way. But generally speaking, Krav Maga is one-step sparring with camouflage pants on. It's got the same movements as the self-defense techniques in Taekwondo, but you wear camo pants and a t-shirt instead of a dobak. And then Taekwondo has all this added coordination, strength, and flexibility that you're developing along with the techniques. Don't get mad at me, it's just an opinion. If you prefer Krav Maga, go for it. Whatever gets you off the couch is the better choice. All right, next topic. So this is from A32522, who writes, they love the Topic Tuesday idea, and then they say, when I do spinning kicks, I get very dizzy. Could you do a topic on how to prevent this? Yeah, you know, everybody has different, what do I want to say, tolerances for motion sickness. I'm on the really low end of that tolerance spectrum. A couple years ago, I tried skydiving. And I kid you not, by the time I got to the ground, I held it in, but by the time I landed, I vomited 9 times, and I was sick throughout the entire rest of that day. I have very low tolerance for motion sickness. When I was doing Aikido regularly, the rolling would get to me, and I would have to stop. If I didn't, I would just be sick for the rest of the class, so I'd have to taper off faster than other people. So I'm a good person to ask the question to. When it comes to spinning kicks, there's a trick that comes from dancing, actually, that they call spotting. And it's simply to look the direction you're spinning before you spin there. So you turn and look and spot on the wall or something else before you do your spin. That helps fix you on a certain point each time. Now, that wouldn't stop me from getting dizzy entirely, but it certainly helps. So try spotting. If you look up that term, you can get more detailed videos on spotting itself. But basically, it's looking at a target before completing your spin. All right, next topic comes from Troy Bowen 3024, who writes, another great video. I was wondering if I could do one on how to hold your sidekick in the air at head level. Yeah, so you may have seen in some of my technique videos, I'll hold a kick out there and just pause with my leg out. And you know, it's really a handy skill to develop if you were demonstrating to a class how to do a technique, because you can slowly go through the motion and show it in its full glory at slow speed, which is helpful for students. How can one accomplish that? Well, it just comes down to practice. I'll tell you, for me, there was no like set number of reps to do with a really methodical approach. It was simply to kick around. So if I'm at home, I'm throwing kicks. And I throw them slowly, and I just practice holding them. Do it like it's just part of your routine. You know how you reach out and open a door? You don't think about how many times do I have to practice opening a door to get good at opening a door. You just do it throughout the day. Kick around. You got a few seconds while you're waiting for your tea to brew? Stick some side kicks out there. Do it on both sides. You build both legs. If you are just chatting with your wife or your girlfriend, kick at her. Kick and see how close you can get to touching her without actually touching. She'll be impressed. She might even marry you for that if she hasn't already. So just do it throughout your day. And do it slowly and do it precisely. And you will develop the strength, flexibility, and dexterity to do some pretty awesome kicks if you do it regularly. That should, of course, be paired with your already existing Taekwondo training and stretching routines. To do a kick high and to hold it out requires both strength and flexibility. And if you haven't yet, I have a full exercise follow-along routine on my website, tkdguide.com, that's totally free. And you can pull that up. And these exercises are specific to Taekwondo, meaning they're not just things that, how do I say, like a push-up. A push-up is a basic strength training exercise, but it's not in the context of Taekwondo. All of the techniques that I have in this exercise routine are inside the context of Taekwondo. So you're always doing some sort of chamber or kick where you're stretching in a way that's mimicking an existing kick. Check that out if you haven't. That will give you a lot of ideas of things you can practice on top of just kicking around. All right, well, that's everything I've got today for Topic Tuesday. As always, if you would like to leave me a topic suggestion, please put it down in the comments. I love to talk about what you want me to talk about. And as I was saying, don't forget to check out my website, tkdguide.com, with free courses and a few paid courses if you've got a job and you want to support this channel. I've got one on Taekwondo sparring that's got the best, most important Taekwondo drills I have ever come across for building sparring reflexes. And I've got one on the Taegok Pumse that features a breakdown of every single technique along with follow-along practice. And like I said before, if you don't want to pay, there are several free courses that are really worth your time as well. Thank you guys. Until next time, enjoy your training.